Welcome to the Kimberly Area School District's Parent Preview Night for the 4th grade Human Growth and Development lesson on puberty. My name is Kristen Zuberbier, and I'm a school counselor at Sunrise Elementary School, and I will be your guide for tonight. Let's start by taking a look at our goals for this presentation. It is our goal that parents will be aware of the district's 4th grade Human Growth and Development standards. The parents will understand how these concepts are going to be taught to their 4th graders, and that parents will be able to identify resources available for additional information on puberty. Let's dive right in by talking about the district's Human Growth and Development standards. Earlier this year, you received a copy of all the Human Growth and Development standards for our entire district, as well as the district's philosophy about teaching these standards. During the 4th grade puberty presentation, we will be focusing in on 2 standards from the 4th grade Human Growth and Development learning objectives. Those 2 standards are, 1, that students will be able to identify and explain physical, social, and mental changes which occur as they approach puberty, and 2, that students will be able to identify hygiene practices necessary for changing bodies. You may be wondering how this information will be presented to your 4th grader. So let's just walk through a typical student experience during the presentation. During the presentation, boys and girls will be in separate rooms or spaces. Girls will be with female teachers or counselors or nurses, and boys will be with male teachers or principals. Each group will be watching a video called Always Changing. The girls will be watching the girls-only version, while boys will be watching the boys-only version of this video. During the video, each student is encouraged to write down a question, comment, or thought, or possibly something that they learned on a piece of paper. At the end of the video, the presenters will collect all of the papers from each student in the room. This really normalizes the act of asking a question. Presenters will then go through and answer any questions that students may have, either ones that were written down or ones that students ask out loud in class. After all of the questions have been answered, presenters will facilitate a conversation about trusted adults, people that the children feel like they could go to if they have additional questions about the topic of puberty. We do schedule these presentations near the end of your child's school day. This really helps to decrease the nervousness about integrating back into a co-ed classroom after these presentations. It also allows students to go home and have discussions at home about the video while it is still fresh in their mind, and ask additional questions that they may have been too worried to ask in class. Parents often have questions about the discussion time that follows our Always Changing video. So I thought we would take a second to look through what happens in a typical year during the discussion time. During the Always Changing video, students are encouraged to write down at least one question that they have or something that they learned, really anything on a piece of paper. We collect a piece of paper from every single student. Questions are asked anonymously, and because every person writes something down and it's anonymous, children are really encouraged and feel comfortable asking the questions that they really want to know the answer to. Some common questions that boys and girls ask. For boys, questions usually have to do with facial hair, height, and wet dreams. And for girls, our questions usually have to do with their period, when it will begin, and what they should do if they don't have the supplies they need when it does begin. If a question is asked and it's outside of the scope of the Always Changing video or the standards for 4th grade, we encourage children to ask a trusted adult at home about those questions, and we also inform them that we continue talking about their growth and development over the next several years, and that their question may be more appropriate for an older grade level and could be answered then. Before students leave our presentations here at school, we take some time to help them identify adults that they trust, people that they can go to with questions about this topic. We also let them know that we will continue to learn about how our body grows and develops over the next several years in school. So this isn't the only time they're going to talk about this information. And finally, we hand out a note that they get to take home, which just reminds you that they had the discussion today, as well as allows you to facilitate a conversation. We really encourage you to ask them if they have any questions about what they learned today and to follow their lead about what they want to know more about. Attached to this presentation, you will find some resources. The first resource is a link to the Always Changing videos. In 4th grade, girls will be watching the girls only video and boys will be watching the boys only video. By following this link, you will find both of those videos and a co-ed version of this video. We encourage you to review the video prior to your child watching the video in class. That way you're able to answer any questions they have or have a conversation about the content of the presentation they received. The second resource is a copy of the district's philosophy and human growth and development standards for 4th grade. This should let you know the information that students will be receiving this year, as well as the district's philosophy about how those standards are taught. The final resource is a set of internet and print resources that you can use at home. These are great if your child has additional questions or concerns revolving around puberty. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this presentation. You should hear soon from your school about when your child's presentation in the classroom is scheduled. If you have any questions or need any assistance, please reach out to the school counselor in your building. Kimberly Carosis at Woodland, Kayla Newman at Westside, Katie McCormick at Jansen, and myself, Kristen Zuberbier at Sunrise. Thank you again and have a great evening.